Prepare yourselves for a battle of epic proportions between two titans. Feast upon their voices and revel in their words. This is Dueling Ogres.
Hello, Ogres, and welcome to episode 191. Thank you for joining us, as always, on this Mom, It Broke Again! Wednesday evening, Earth date July 3rd, 2019. I'm your host, Remington Hitchcock, and with me, as always, my co-host, Brandon Full. Say hello, Brandon.
Good afternoon, my sweet baby angels.
my sweet B-boys.
My sweet B-boy babies.
I figure if we're going to recreate it, we got to get the B-boy babies in there.
Yeah, the B-boy babies are back, baby.
Unfortunately.
That was a lot of B's in there. A lot of alliteration.
I live my life by alliteration.
Who doesn't? You should. And with us once again, which is only the first time for the rest of you out there, is Chad Goode.
I mean, a first time is enough for most people.
Oh, you think that just because you've been here twice, you get to use the self-deprecation jokes?
Again, self-deprecation is the greatest form of flattery or something. I'm pretty sure someone said that.
Yeah, probably somewhere.
At some point.
Yeah.
That was Sun Tzu.
Yes, the art of war. I remember now.
Right before he took a spear to the gut.
Was Sun Tzu like an actual general or something?
Yeah.
Was he?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's all there is to that.
Yeah,
really.
that's
Yes, he was, Brandon.
fair enough.
The more you know.
I've even got the Wikipedia page up. It's just, general. Moving
It just
on.
says general. Just says Asian general.
Oriental
Oriental general. Non-specific. Sun Tzu was Chinese, wasn't he?
Yes.
Okay.
It sounds
that's what I thought.
Chinese.
Yeah. Ooh, that's Brandon.
What?
That's very assumptive.
Sun Tzu sounds like a Chinese name.
So Chad has actually been on the podcast before, not including the one that we lost before this. For those of you who actually follow us on Facebook and Twitter and the social medias, you know that we recorded for like an hour and 45 minutes, and then I checked the time and the recording had magically stopped. And I died a little inside, and then I died a little on the outside and had to be resuscitated. And I said, fuck it. We recorded 6 minutes and nothing is usable, and we don't have the time to recreate anything because Chad had a place to be, and nor did we have the energy.
So no episode.
Because I'm retired.
You should have released that 6 minutes as an episode.
I don't even know what was on it. I just deleted it. I was so distraught at that point because it was such a good episode. We had a lot of really cool conversation in it, and it was a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
now I am not facing my guests or my co-host. I am staring at a computer screen to make sure that it doesn't magically stop on me. And I'm going to keep glancing up at it while we talk about our stories.
Yeah, I have to say it's very weird that you're not facing us.
Yeah.
That we're talking to your back, but I can see Chad and I on camera, and that's what you're looking at, so you can see us.
Yeah, do you want me to make it a little bigger so you can see me too?
No, it doesn't matter. I don't need to see you.
Yeah, nobody really needs to see me.
I can see enough of you for my taste.
I mean, it's got this
fair.
very Big Brother vibe.
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
It's like you're watching us through a
Yes.
security camera. It's like Five Nights at Freddy's almost.
It's the weirdest interrogation room I've ever been in.
Instead of like, tell me about the drugs, he's like, tell me about Spider-Man.
So also, if we sound just a little hair on the weird side, for those of you who are audiophiles, I've got a fan going and I have it filtered out. So we might be a little odd sounding, and that's the reason why.
Didn't you used to have a plug-in that ran that would cut out the fan noise?
Yeah, that's what I'm using right now. But if it gets too loud, then it kind of starts distorting us because it's along the same frequencies as some of our lower speech patterns.
Oh.
So it makes us sound a little more tinny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
that'll be
we're
it.
going to lose the orcas listening in.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew you were trying to court that demographic.
I could just see the profile of your mouth as you did that, and it was enough for me.
Yeah, you're right. You don't ever need to see me. So how's everybody doing this week?
Great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's good. Chad?
Passable.
Midland. Midland at best.
Fire to Midland.
Fair to Midland. How do you spell Midland? I said it earlier today in something, and I couldn't get my phone to spell it right.
Middlin apostrophe.
Really?
Midland.
Really?
That's how I assumed it.
I'm pretty sure.
Spelled.
I figure if anybody's going to know off the top of their head, it's going to be that nerd sitting over behind me.
I mean, I have nothing better to do with my free time than get in fights with people on the internet over spelling and grammar.
That's good. That's good. I need more people like you on the internet.
Yeah, the internet needs more people fighting each other.
Yeah.
That's the one thing it lacks.
So like I said, Chad has been on before. He way back in the day when we tried to do a live stream from Classic Plastics Toy and Comic Expo, which has since been renamed slightly, so it's not such a mouthful. He sat in and chit-chatted with us for, I don't know, a good hour and a half, 2 hours. So that's available in our videos. If anybody wants to check out our YouTube and watch him there, you can see the massive bearded man that he is. Because I'm not doing this live.
It's weird. I don't remember doing as much content as you say. So that's like 2 hours I'm going to have to refresh my own memory on.
It might not have been 2 hours. I'm taking a wild stab.
It was like an
that was
hour.
like 3 years ago.
There's this weird blank spot in my memory from that time.
Yeah.
I think you talked about armor
I need to go
most
back
of the time.
and piece together my life.
Yeah, right. I mean, it'll give you some insight into the past.
We could call it Chad Mento.
Or we could not.
I think Chad Mento is a very strong name for a movie.
I feel like Chad Mento is something that should be popping into my mouth for fresh breath. Chad Mentos, the fresh maker.
These mints taste like Chad.
Well, this is definitely not what I agreed to today.
Wait, the person or the country? There's a very, very poignant distinction to be made here.
What kind of food do you think Chad has?
Like the country?
Yeah, the country. Spicy?
I don't know. I have no clue. I know next to nothing about the country of Chad.
I don't even know where Chad is. Middle East?
Middle of Africa.
Oh, Africa?
Yeah. So like kind of north of the Democratic Republic of Congo-ish. I don't know. It's something I haven't looked at in a long time.
I don't know. Let's
do
ask
that now.
Google.
So lots of baked potatoes?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so it's right under Libya, next to Niger and Nigeria are both on the left, and Sudan and South Sudan are on the right. So that's where Chad is. Officially, it's called the Republic of Chad.
Ooh.
A country in Central Africa.
Does that mean I'm prone to being overtaken by an Emperor Palpatine type if I'm a republic? Because I'm in danger of that.
Yes.
You've been dominated your entire life by British imperialism.
There you go.
Everything suddenly makes more sense.
I searched Chad food.
Chad food. Food of Chad.
They're called Chadians.
Are they really?
Yeah, according to Wikipedia.
Huh.
They use millet, sorghum, rice as staple foods. Commonly eaten vegetables include okra and cassava.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Bread made from millet and sorghum that has been ground to flour. Daraba is a traditional dish prepared with okra, tomatoes, sweet potatoes, greens, peanut butter or peanut paste, and additional ingredients.
Hey, sweet potatoes, you were part right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have potatoes.
Yeah. Huh. Well, there you go. There's some Chadian cuisine. I hope you all feel smarter now about a country that you probably knew next to nothing about.
I learned that Chad was in Africa, which I didn't know, so we're learning all around.
Hey, to be fair, I thought that it was closer to the Middle East as well, to be honest. But Chad knew where Chad was. I guess you would expect that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like if you found out when you were young that there was a country that shared your name, you might want to know where it is.
Or just leave it as a surprise.
Yeah.
Like one of those happy surprises later in life.
Like you just happened to stumble across in your exploration of the world, the country of Chad.
Yes. we're at the border, they kind of look at your passport, do a double take, and like, oh, hey.
Or they're like, we got another one.
The latter is probably more likely.
We got another smartass coming to Chad.
All right. Brennan, have you been doing anything fun this week?
I bought a Nintendo Switch.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
How's that been working out for you?
Good. I've still been playing Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of summer now. Still tilling away at my blueberries and peppers and tomatoes.
Well, that's good. Maybe one of these days you'll become an actual farmer.
That seems like a lot of work. Although, I don't know. See, here's the thing. If I could live on a farm and they would tell me what to do,
Yeah.
like I would just get up and they'd be like, okay, go out in the field and do this and go feed the horses and water the whatevers. And I would get free room and board and I would get some money to save up. I would totally do that.
I mean, we're talking about a lot of heat, though. You know, are you okay?
I'm fine with heat.
Are you good with heat?
Yeah, heat doesn't bother me too much.
See, I'm constantly wearing a sweater, so heat really gets to me sometimes, especially if it's humid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're a hairy man.
I am. I'm like a fucking orangutan.
I also, on my Switch, bought Breath of the Wild and Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild, I've played for maybe an hour. It hasn't grabbed me yet. A lot of times a game has to grab me within the first half hour. If it doesn't get me right off the bat, then I'm not into it. But I've heard enough good stuff about Breath of the Wild to know that I'll enjoy it once I actually put the time into it.
Right.
But my Nintendo Switch right now is just my Stardew Valley machine.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, as long as you're getting enjoyment out of it, that's really all that matters.
getting to play it in bed is fantastic.
Chad,
Yo.
how about you? What have you been up to this week? Still enjoying your vacation, I hope.
Kind of.
Ish.
I'd mostly been working outside and like building a firewood shed for my parents closer to the house. And now I'm trying to help an older lady of my acquaintance to fix some issues that she had with her porch where it was kind of a death trap.
Yeah.
And just making it less so. So it's not quite as glamorous as being the rogue in the party, moving forward and just rolling for pitfalls and things, but it's kind of similar.
Because you're a construction mercenary. That's basically your job, right?
Yes.
You're like a mercenary for hire.
Actually, I've never had it put that way, but I really like hearing that. So, yeah, I'm a construction mercenary from now on. I'm totally into this.
He's pulling up his resume right now, just changing it.
Construction mercenary.
Construction mercenary.
Let's see if I can remember my login on LinkedIn.
There you go.
So you travel all around doing construction, right? Either hired by other people to work as yourself or hired to work with other people?
Yes, I do. That has been kind of fun. It is liberating in a way to know that you have a skill set that other people value. If it happened more often, that'd be great.
All right.
Sometimes you can go from job to job, and then other times it might be 6 months before you find something that in your field of expertise that will actually give you a semi-livable wage.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough, like in this area and some others, but that's kind of why I had to stick to travel work for a while. So right now I have some work that I do under my own license, and then I also have a off and on boss who runs an architectural firm down in Atlanta, Georgia, and he will occasionally get in touch with me and be like, hey, what are you doing in the next few months? I have some jobs that I want to kind of spread out, and I want you to go do some things. And he'll pay for me to go places and work, sometimes by myself, sometimes with a crew of people. Sometimes I'll manage a crew for him. Other times I just get to put my head down and do the equivalent of color in the lines.
Yeah.
Those are kind of the jobs I like, where I don't have to ride other people's backs to say like, hey, get this shit done. We've got deadlines to keep.
Right.
I kind of prefer, give me this thing that takes a lot of time and attention to detail and just leave me alone and go somewhere else for several hours.
What's your favorite place you've been to, like visited? Do you have one?
I don't know if I have a straight up favorite. I have different things that I like about the places I have been.
Right.
One of the more enjoyable was Portland, Oregon.
Oh, I've heard good stuff about Portland.
As I haven't been on the West Coast much. Over the course of my life, I've been to San Francisco twice. Once on a vacation when I was like 13. The second time for some temporary security work when I was like 23 or 24. Spent some time in San Francisco. Then I've been to Seattle once for about 2 weeks. And then here last year, around this time, I was sent to a job for this boss in Portland, Oregon. So I was there for about a month and a half. And I liked a lot of things about Portland. It was weird being, well, it wasn't exactly this time last year. It was closer to fall and kind of leading into winter. But it was weird how warm Portland was versus how cold it was getting back home.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Like there were still flowers blooming like into October.
Oh, wow.
And it was weird to be in a city that had that much vegetation in it because like everybody has these weirdly eclectic and kind of amazing gardens just springing up around their houses in Portland. And you can see all kinds of trees everywhere you look. And it's such a rainforesty, moisture-heavy climate that a lot of it has these rainforest characteristics. You'll see these oak trees with skins over top their bark of like lichen and all these little ferns just popping out of the trees because there's so much plant life. And it's jarring when you pass a house that has an actual lawn because it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Like, oh, nobody in a 5-block radius has one of those. This is the one house that has actual grass. Everything else has like rose bushes and all this other stuff.
That sounds beautiful, though.
So it is an interesting place to visit. There's a huge like music scene, pretty much covering every available taste of music.
Yeah.
I was weird. I was walking to a pizza place from the Airbnb that had been rented for me. And I was walking back from a pizza place within like 2 blocks. I was passing this little like freelance recording studio. There would be artistic groups just in and out of it. This little tiny place. And there was some guy just on a banjo outside just picking away because he felt like it. And you just stop on the street and listen.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Where's your favorite place you visited, Rem? Do you have one?
I haven't been a whole lot of places, really.
You're like Dairy Queen.
Wait, how am I like Dairy?
You're like my favorite place I visited is Dairy Queen.
Oh, yeah.
You're not. You're not the monarch herself.
Well, like let's see here. When I was wee little, before my mom and natural father split up, we moved to Florida for a hot minute. I was far too young to remember that, so I know nothing of it. We would go down to North Carolina, Atlantic Beach, for vacation when I was younger, which, I mean, that was always fun to go to the beach. I'd like to see the West Coast. I've never seen the West Coast, but until just recently, I'd never actually been like west of the Mississippi. And that was when we went to Missouri.
Yeah.
So, and now that I think about it, I don't remember actually passing over the Mississippi.
The Mississippi remembers.
Well, I hope so, because I sure don't. But I was driving both times, so it's kind of hard to pay attention to the stuff around you when you're the one who's trying to drive.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to drive somewhere new.
Yeah.
I've been to the West Coast and I like it, but I've never driven there. It's always been flying. So there's a lot of states in the middle that I've never visited.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some of the western states, maybe some of the Southwest. I've been to Texas, but it's always been in a big city.
Yeah.
And have never driven there. So my only experience of Texas is heat and overpopulated metro areas.
Right. I've never flown either. I have never actually been up in an airplane.
We should totally get him on an airplane for the next show.
Yeah.
Show 200.
There you go.
So 2 months from now, we have to plan a flight for Remington.
And come up with the money to take me on one.
Yes.
It wouldn't be that big of a deal. There's an airport literally like 15 minutes away from us.
You don't want to fly out of that airport.
Not anymore. You don't know.
I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Don't tell him, Chad.
I go out like the Big Bopper.
The Big Bopper.
That's right, kids. I went all the way back to the Big Bopper. He's the only one I can remember died in a car crash.
The day the music died.
Or a plane crash.
Most of the members of... Oh, fuck. I totally forget that band now.
I know who you're talking
Leonard
about.
Skinner.
Yeah.
Died in a plane crash.
Yeah.
Also, the Marshall team.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
From one of their championship playoffs.
Yeah.
In this state.
Yeah.
Came in too low, hit the side of a mountain. Just done.
Wow. Thanks for making it real dark, Chad.
Let's do episode 200 on plane crashes.
Okay.
Something real.
That'll be the theme
like
episode.
An upper.
So, hold on. Let me go ahead and, since we're going out on that, let me go ahead and plug the episode 200. Make it real awkward now. Hang on. So to plug episode 200 real quick, we're coming up on it very quickly. This is 191, so we only have 9 more episodes to go. 8, I guess, if you don't count 200, right?
Right.
Isn't that how math works or something?
Close to it, yeah.
And we have precisely no answers for our poll that we have put out, I think, aside from like Chad telling us with his mouth last time that we talked. But we have a lot of choices. We could do a theme episode. We could do the same old, where it's just, hour and a half of us blibber blabbering around with stories. Or we could BS, where we don't have any stories and we just sit here and talk to each other awkwardly about girls and things.
Hell yeah.
We could do a live caller episode via Skype, Hangouts, Discord, or wherever, basically. I mean, that hinges directly on you listeners out there wanting to call in 978 DU-OGRES. That's 978-386-4737. And there were a couple other things, but that app keeps shutting down. So
There was a 4-hour episode.
Oh, yeah, there was the 4-hour episode.
And there was a theme episode.
Well, I said that one first.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, there was
also
something
special
else.
guest episode.
Yeah, that's what it was. Singular special guest episode.
All of the above.
Yes, or all of the above, which would be terrible.
Episode 200. All that nostalgic bullshit.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was your suggestion, was we do a theme episode on nostalgia.
That's true, yeah.
Nostalgia is a fantastic theme because it can go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that lends itself to a 4-hour episode.
Yeah.
And we could make the joke on the nostalgia episode that episode 100 was better.
This is true.
Yeah.
So you're just supporting my idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
I liked episode 100 better.
We're all on board.
Remember back when they did theme episodes?
we just want everybody else to tell us what they want too.
Nobody cares, Remington.
We're not just doing it for us. We're doing it for you, listener.
They don't care.
We're doing it for you, Jim. We're doing it for you, Hannah.
Jim and Hannah. You're the 2 people we're doing it for.
And Terry and Jordan and Stephen Hines occasionally.
Yeah, Stephen Hines sometimes.
And
Jesse, Chad, Bucky.
Yeah, all of those people. I mean, we could name them, I guess, the actual people who listen instead of talking about made up names like Jim and Hannah.
Wait, Jim and Hannah aren't real?
No.
Who have I been corresponding with? That's going nowhere.
Nope. Nowhere fast. Just like this podcast. Speaking of podcasts, the AV Club released the best podcasts of 2019 so far.
Ooh, where are we on the list?
We're not. Brandon, I've got some bad news.
Yeah.
I'm quitting podcasting.
Are we not? Are we like in the bottom 10?
Yeah.
Are we at like 6 or 7?
Well,
because that's not great news.
I mean, a little lower.
12?
Well, I mean, that would be out of the 10 list.
Yeah, but they do honorable mentions, I bet. They do almost made it. We'd be there, right?
So let me just go ahead with the article, okay?
Okay.
Because they did it a little differently. They kind of did categories and best in the category.
Oh, so we got like best humor.
It's been 15 years since the word podcast was first attached to downloadable audio files, but don't worry, this is not any sort of retrospective on the medium. This is a snapshot of where podcasts are right now, halfway through 2019. And if the landscape could be defined by any particular trends this year, it's been the proliferation of every one of its subgenres, a tidal wave of content for even the most specific and discerning audio tastes. With infinite selection comes infinite selectivity, and to help you wade past series with 17 co-hosts and series where the guests were clearly not researched beforehand, we've never done that. Ever. And a series of hosts who attempt to hold their phone up to the mic to play relevant movie clips directly from YouTube for the listeners. Never done that either. Uh-oh. Fucking consummate professionals in this podcast studio.
The only time I can ever remember playing anything from my phone directly was when I was playing Eastbound and Down.
I've done it once or twice. I think you've done it more than just that.
No, only for
just the once.
For Eastbound and Down, Jerry Reed.
For the listeners at home and series that just plain aren't that interesting, the AV Club presents our list of the best podcasts of the year so far, sorted into 12 very official categories. Here's hoping you find the next spontaneation among them. Apparently, they've coined their own word for that because it's like capitalized and italicized. I don't know.
Spontaneation is probably the name of a podcast.
Oh, maybe.
Which is a terrible name for a podcast.
Way worse than Dueling Ogres.
Mm.
Best celebrity voice work.
Oh, that's got to be us. We've had a lot of celebrities on here.
And by a lot, you mean like all of them?
No, we've had Eminem on here. Yeah? We've had Ellen DeGeneres. Patrick Stewart. We had that phone call with Carson Daly.
Yeah.
From TRL.
Yeah.
We've had Dr. Dre multiple times.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I haven't made it to those episodes yet. I really need to check the backlog, see what I've been missing out on.
You do.
Yeah, it's a star-studded cast, man.
Yeah, it's really, they're just here and gone again, a Hobbit's tale.
Oh, I just saw Ellen dance by, actually.
Oh, yeah, right on the wing of her plane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I love how she does those 6 stunts.
Yeah, right? So I'm not going to read through just a ton of these. Best celebrity voice work. There have been impressive fictional podcasts featuring celebrities in the past years, such as Homecoming, starring Catherine Keener and David Schwimmer, and The Orbiting Human Circus by Night Vale Presents, featuring Tim Robbins and Mandy Patinkin. The transition to pure audio turns out better for some actors than others, but Oscar winner Rami Malek has raised the bar to exceptional heights in Blackout. He does not just lend his voice, he becomes the small-town radio DJ Simon Itani, pulling in listeners with both his words and his hopeless silences. So, Blackout. Blackout is the best celebrity voice work.
Okay.
I have heard of that before. I've meant to listen to it.
Best speculative fiction series. So these are like proper, like themed podcasts, Jesus. It seems like.
This one, I'm not having high hopes that we would be there.
No, probably not, because we're not a fiction series. This is all real life.
Mm-hmm.
In a world that can feel dystopian and grim at the best of times, writing speculative fiction that truly scares its audience isn't an easy task, but it's one the Decatapes have accomplished with the series' 8 stellar episodes. So this only has 8 episodes. We're at 191, and this one has made a list before we have.
Yeah.
How dare they?
We didn't even make the local Mid-Ohio Valley podcast list.
We didn't.
We were there to vote for.
Yeah.
And then some podcast that I've never heard of won.
Yeah. Malarkey.
It is.
Malarkey. It's almost like we need to do more getting out there or something.
Yeah.
Most inspiring series.
Okay, we are a shoo-in for this one.
Yeah, you would think. In 1961, when President John F. Kennedy stood before Congress and proposed that the United States committed itself to landing a man on the moon by the end of the decade, such a mission was not even within the realm of possibility for NASA engineers. Less than 10 years later, however, the world witnessed the Apollo 11 lunar module safely make its 13-minute descent from orbit to the surface of the moon. How this astounding, seemingly impossible feat was accomplished is the subject of the BBC's new documentary miniseries, 13 Minutes to the Moon.
Wow.
Yeah. Using a mix of archival audio, interviews with the surviving NASA engineers, scientists, and astronauts, and a soaring score composed by Hans fucking Zimmer, Host Dr. Kevin Fong explores the various moving parts of the Apollo program, each of which contributed to the 11th mission's crucial success.
Podcasts are fucking where it's at now, man. Podcasts are popular.
I know. Best podcast no one asked for?
Okay. If we win any fucking category, it is best podcast no one asked for. Remington, please read what they say about us.
Brandon.
Yeah.
Brandon, I'm sorry.
We didn't get this one either?
Brandon, it's the Ron Burgundy podcast.
The Ron Burgundy podcast?
Brandon, it's
but
the
no
Ron
one asked for that.
I know nobody asked for the Ron Burgundy podcast, but they did it. Don't let this superlative fool you. Best podcast no one asked for is a category we hold in the highest esteem. The Ron Burgundy podcast is based on and hosted by Will Ferrell's beloved Ron Burgundy character, now 15 years on from 2004's Anchorman. While the film became a cult classic since its release, to say that the world was waiting with bated breath for this podcast would be an overstatement. However, that doesn't mean its arrival wasn't welcomed with open arms. In the crowded podcast landscape, even A-listers have had trouble setting themselves apart, but luckily, Will Ferrell isn't your average A-lister. This podcast is an unexpected breath of fresh air, and as absurd as the idea is, Ferrell somehow manages to pull off the absurdity in a way that constantly engages and delights listeners.
I have a confession to make.
You've listened to it?
No, it's about your failure to be included in that section, because I think I deep down asked for your podcast, and that's why you guys didn't qualify.
Oh.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of my studio.
I'll do better next time, I swear.
Don't ever think of us again.
Most faithful true crime parody.
Yeah, we're not in this one.
No, definitely not. Radiotopia's The Truth branched back into serialized fiction this spring with The Body Genius, a miniseries about a Hollywood personal trainer who has to help solve the murder of a celebrity.
Okay.
Basically, imagine if Brad Pitt's character from Burn After Reading took over for Sarah Koenig on Serial and really, really wanted to solve the murder himself.
You don't listen to podcasts, really, do you, Remington?
I really don't. I have a couple that I listen to, and even then I haven't listened to them for a while because I'm not in the position to listen to them anymore.
You could listen to them in your car. You have a commute.
I don't have much of a commute.
Yeah, it's like 15 minutes.
At best. It's like 2 or 3 minutes to Cheddar's and maybe 7 to 12 to Marietta.
Yeah.
And I'm not very good. I did listen to 15 minutes or half an hour of the last Kapow pop culture podcast. But I mean, like, that's as far as I've gotten on any podcast for a while, apart from, editing hours.
Are the pop culture podcasts more in line with the ones you usually would listen to, or do you tend toward one of the other categories?
The one that I frequented was, it started off as a World of Warcraft podcast. And then they branched out into all of the Blizzard properties. It's hosted by Pat Crane, who used to be in radio way back in the day and did a lot of audio stuff. And he was kind of the first person that when I was researching how to do a podcast, he's one of the first people that I ran across who had any information that was very helpful to me. So I appreciate not only his ability to podcast, but his knowledge in the field of audio as well. So that's really, kind of why I continued to listen to that.
Okay. I have kind of fallen down the rabbit hole of listening to stuff very much in the vein of Welcome to Night Vale.
Yeah.
Which I had a friend turn me on to Welcome to Night Vale years ago, and I'm not current with that podcast, but I have listened to quite a bit of it off and on.
Yeah.
But what I've been listening to a lot as I've been working and doing other stuff, of course, besides listening to Dueling Ogres, is
it's a good plug, Chad. Good plug.
Stuff that kind of fits into one of the bleaker fictional universes, like more along the lines of Lovecraftian horror kind of stuff. So there's a couple good ones in that vein. Some are still continuing. Some wrap up in like 6 episodes or so.
Like storytelling podcasts?
Kind of. They're the way these ones were presented were more like episodic journalist entries of somebody doing an investigative journalism take into, hey, I found this cool random string of facts that kind of fit together. And then as they start to piece together more and more facts about this particular mystery that they find intriguing, they fall down into this dark, bottomless pit of conspiracies and whatnot.
That sounds pretty cool.
That seem to be kind of happening in the world around them and just drawing them in further. One that I pretty much listened to the whole thing yesterday. It's called The Last Movie. It was a spinoff of another podcast that just deals with some random movie rumor that this investigative journalist came across when he was researching something else. And they're like, oh, there's apparently this movie out there made by this independent filmmaker, and technically the film doesn't exist because nobody can get their hands on it. But the reason nobody can get their hands on it is because nobody can watch this movie and survive the experience.
Right.
Oh, wow.
And it's like a 6-episode podcast. Each episode's about 30 to 40 minutes, and is pretty creepy. Well done. Good production value.
It's called The Last Movie.
Yes.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
I don't really listen to any storytelling podcasts.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of news and true crime and stuff like that, comedy.
Yeah, I'm branching out into some other stuff, but I just kind of felt in the mood for some creepy thematic listening material.
Yeah. And that's something I've never actually given a try to, is that genre of storytelling podcasts either. So I don't imagine it's any different than just listening to an audiobook, really.
Yeah, it's not too different.
Yeah.
It's weird when they have sponsorships and commercials because those can kind of take you out of the experience.
Yeah, sure. Like if you're going to do that, don't do it right in the middle of an episode. Do it at the front or the back, you know?
And it is a little amusing when they try to
slip it in.
When they try to link the commercial somehow to the theme of their podcast.
Yeah.
Like if they're plugging a specialized sock company, they're like, you know, the kind of thing you need when you're out in the woods of the Pacific Northwest chasing down creepy shadow monsters. You need socks. You need these socks.
So I went upstairs and laid down in my Casper mattress.
Pretty much. That is one of the ones that gets plugged.
I got a sweet deal, 10% off using the code insert podcast name here.
Sleep is important, especially when you've been unraveling the secrets of the occult.
Right? You lame ass motherfuckers put it at the beginning or the end. Jeez. What do you think this is? The Tick, where they sponsored Coleman?
The one thing that they tend to do pretty well on a couple of these that I've listened to is they have these like little bonus filler episodes where they'll have listeners, quote unquote, to their show, like send them messages about the content of the podcast. And there are some where you genuinely cannot tell if it is somebody who listens to the podcast and takes it way too seriously, or if it is cultivated content produced by those showrunners, which obviously some of them have to be, but they do enough of a mix and add a level of production value that kind of sells the universe of the podcast. So there's definitely some skilled people out there, and I'm just kind of in the mood for more of that, so I'll probably search out some new ones to listen to because I kind of caught up with everything that I was listening to.
See, that's the thing that we need to do, Brandon. We just need to make up people to like our podcast.
That's true.
The more people we've got Beef Log over on iTunes, and that was you.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't you. It was probably somebody else who just really loved our podcast whose head exploded.
Who also loved beef logs.
Yeah. All right, let me get through the rest of this list. Most meditative podcast, The Walking Podcast. Not about the topic of walking, it's a recording of it. No talking, just the sounds of John Mulliam's feet, his keys dangling from his body, and occasional light breathing. There are also birds chirping, planes flying overhead, leaves crunching, the noises of a shoe slightly pivoting over gravel. In one episode, you can hear William replying with a kind of hello to an approaching stranger. In another, a seal barks off in the distance. He falls.
Seal?
Yes. He falls in episode 3. But overall, the Walking Podcast is a simplistic, brilliant piece of passive recording that provides a break from constant digital overstimulation by way of digital overstimulation. That's not what it says. It says by way of an audio nature experience or auditory nature experience. This is pure meditative bliss that sits somewhere between ASMR and amateur field recordings.
We are just in the wrong business.
Okay, so here's the one that I really thought that we were going to cinch, Brandon.
Yeah.
Best New Feminist Podcast.
Yeah, understandable. We encapsulate feminist ideas, I feel like,
I thought
for the most part.
I thought so too, but apparently All My Relations does it better. Hosted by visual storyteller Matika Wilbur and writer-activist Adrienne Keene.
It's hosted by 2 women?
Yeah.
That can't be that interesting.
All right, moving on.
I feel like if you guys didn't cinch that one, then you'd probably get it for like race inclusivity.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm starting to feel like we might not be on this list at all, Chad.
After the whole pussy hat movement came a deluge of feminist podcasts, some of whose politics were more evolved than others, some voices and identities amplified more than others, and some voices missing entirely. All My Relations, hosted by the 2 women we talked about earlier, expands this conversation by joining forces with other Native artists, organizers, and scholars by facilitating exacting, fun, accessible conversations about being Native and fostering a relationship with the land and each other. We learn, along with the hosts, becoming accomplices or comrades or allies. From exploring food sovereignty with the Muckleshoot Food Sovereignty Project to gushing over Louboutines hand-beated by Jay Okuma to examining what it means to be indigiqueer, which is one that I have not heard before.
Yeah, I've not heard that term before.
And for clarification, they call it a feminist podcast, but the ladies are Native American. So Adrienne is of the Cherokee Nation, and Matika is Swinomish and Tulalip. I don't know how to say the second one, or really the first one, if I'm honest.
Let me see if I can spot them over your shoulder. Yeah, I've never seen those before.
Yeah, neither have I.
I'll have to research them now because that sounds intriguing.
Yeah, of course I've got very little Native American in me anyway, so there's that. Wildly generous and commanding, Wilbur and Keene model feminism at its best, a holistic investment in our relationships with each other and with the earth. Okay, that word is really hard for me to say.
Demythologizing?
Demythologizing? I don't know what that word means.
Or probably demythologizing.
Demythologizing? In a little more than 5 minutes, the speakers who add to 10 Things That Scare Me's growing catalog of fears reveal so much of themselves just by mentioning what scares them. Guests come from all corners of society, and it's true that some fears are hyper-specific to certain lifestyles. Novelist Marlon James, for instance, fears writing a book that will lead to his death, while former Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano fears a nationwide cyber attack. So that's kind of cool. Just a podcast interviewing
people to see
influential people. Yeah. Best investigative journalism series is Drilled. Good reporting uncovers the truth, but the best reporting provides clear context, solid data, and synthesis that sticks in your gut. In this regard, Drilled is a complete meal full of complexity but digestible. The show sets its sights on one of the most sophisticated social influence campaigns of all time, Exxon's insidious and largely successful attempt to deny science, manipulate facts, and create a culture of climate change denial that halted legislation and alternative energy markets for decades. Most interviews with disgruntled former colleagues. This is an actual category that they made up for this.
Okay.
The Dropout. There's still a lot about Elizabeth Holmes that remains shrouded in mystery, but one thing's for sure, the people she used to work with are not her biggest fans. ABC's podcast miniseries The Dropout stands out for its thorough treatment of the rise and fall of Holmes and her fraudulent healthcare startup Theranos. Holmes created and maintained a strange but impeccable public character, sparking debate over what was real about her and what was fake. A debate that was never divorced from her status as a successful woman, albeit one who was also a criminal.
Don't you feel like this is not a great suggestion to tell people about podcasts that are better than ours?
I mean, this one's called The Horniest Podcast. That's really the only reason I'm reading this list in the first place.
I don't even have any hopes that we're on this list, thinking that Horniest Podcast would be us.
Yeah,
but the next category seems more likely to be us.
Podcasts that most likely to save lives?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, Caravan, Horniest Podcast. Let 2019 be known as the year that podcasting embraced its rowdy, thirsty, steamy side, because if there's one thing Caravan excels at, it's that perfect blend of delayed gratification and climax. See, I mean, we do that all the time.
Yeah. I'm all about delayed gratification and climax.
Yeah.
As are you.
Well, mostly the climax part. Essentially tie together the heat of True Blood and the deeply emotional adventurous storytelling of Pyre, and then hang on to your hats. So that's Caravan. Protagonist Samir goes on a journey through his literal hell, a canyon he remembers falling into, to save the people of the canyon and get himself back up into his own world. On the way, Samir meets larger-than-life heroes and demons, people jacked with supernatural abilities, and creatures so familiar he can't help but want to know everything about them, and grows into the parts of himself he didn't believe exists. I don't know why that's horny.
Yeah, it sounds fucking thrilling.
Yeah. Podcast most likely to save lives, Dueling Ogres. We made it, Brandon.
Yes!
I'm lying. It's Crackdown.
Oh, I was going to say, what's the write-up on Dueling Ogres? And then see you have to try to make it up off the top of your head. This podcast is good.
I'm not that creative.
The hosts are both good.
But if you listen to it, they will probably make you not want to die. The efforts undertaken by Crackdown host Garth Mullins and his team will save lives. It's just that simple. The show approaches the topic of drug use and addiction honestly and sympathetically, outlining the ways that individuals and governments can address the current overdose crisis. So yeah, if you're, I don't know, that sounds honestly a little too heavy for me. I like my podcast light and humorous.
I have one mental health podcast that I listen to sometimes, but it can get pretty heavy.
Yeah.
That is kind of why I tend toward the more fictional horror kind of thing if I want that sort of creeping dread, because there's enough creeping dread
in real life
attached to real life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that was the AV Club's woefully inaccurate list of the best podcasts of 2019 so far. Woefully inaccurate because Dueling Ogres was not listed in any way, shape, or form. I just wanted to show that out there in the world, there can be people who are wrong.
Yeah.
And and it's okay for them to be wrong. You know, I'm not going to write a strongly worded letter to AV Club. I'm just going to blast them on my own podcast.
Yeah, blast them on social media. That's the way you do things nowadays.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I won't do that because I'm not that kind of a guy. You know, I take the high road, Brandon. I want them to hear the passion in my voice. I don't want them to just read word vomit. Are you gonna? Thanks for backing me up, friend.
Sorry, I was trying to find my next story.
You're trying to find anything to get us out of this.
Yeah, goddamn, this fucking swamp of best podcasts. I feel like I'm Atreyu. Just
which one of us is Artax? That's the important question. I need to know which of us isn't leaving this room alive.
The question is, Chad, do you know how to edit a podcast?
Damn it.
Have fun in hell, Chad.
Oh, God.
I mean, in the nothing.
I'm sinking.
Do you guys like Gremlins?
Wait, this is where we're fucking going after this? This better be a hell of a lot more interesting than what I just did, Brandon.
It's not.
Okay, fair enough.
What do you guys think of Gremlins?
I think that it was a movie that scared me when I was a child.
I don't know. I feel like Remington's a little biased since, you know, it's kind of tangling up a holiday and his birthday with creepy little goblin creatures.
Yeah, that's true. I always forget Gremlins is a Christmas movie.
But yeah, I liked Gremlins. It was suitably creepy, but also hilarious in some ways.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in years. I kind of want to watch it again. I have good memories of it.
Dude, I watched Gremlins for the first time a couple years ago. I'd never seen it. It holds up. It was a good movie. Even now, it's still a pretty good movie. And violent.
Yes.
They kill one of the gremlins by shoving him in a blender.
Yes. And another in a microwave. And that actually is, that kind of segues into something I read about Gremlins recently, which just random thing popped up on my Facebook feed. But it was talking about underappreciated characters in horror movies. And one of the people on that list was the mom in Gremlins. And how she wasn't just some sort of damsel in distress or throwaway bit character. The story wasn't focused on her at all. But when these creepy little ankle biters show up in her house, she just starts killing them.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Like, she's not helpless. She doesn't need somebody to save her just because she's a random bit character aside from the main characters. These things show up in her house, start wrecking things, and she's like, well, to hell with this. I'm going to kill you all.
Yeah, she really goes for it.
Shoves one in a blender, throws another in a microwave, stabs one with scissors, I think, and then I think she gets ambushed by some from inside the Christmas tree, and then somebody does have to help her escape that. But
yeah,
I can't remember all the gremlin kills she has, but there's some pretty good ones.
Yeah, there's a couple that she does.
Yeah, and she doesn't hold back. It's kind of a hardcore mom character. I liked it.
Well, they are making a Gremlins series, a streaming series under Warner Media.
So is this going to be on Hulu or
Warner Media is getting their own streaming software.
Okay.
Of course,
Or their own
Great.
streaming site.
Of course.
And Gremlins is going to be on that.
It'll be another $7 a month. Everybody.
Everywhere needs their own streaming service now.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
Because you want to pay the same amount that you're paying, upwards of $150 to $200 for your cable and internet in random streaming services.
well, I think part of the problem with that is just somebody at these companies got wise and saw those random cross posts from Tumblr onto their Facebook wall of millennials being so smart and saying, why would I buy cable TV when I pay this much for just internet and then I can get Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime for this versus cable costs? And then somebody just went, oh man, can't have that.
Not in my capitalism, you don't.
That's right.
And like there have been some legitimate show ideas out there that sound great, and I'd like to see them, like the Swamp Thing. I'd like to see the new Swamp Thing, even though it got
Canceled after
axed
one
by
episode.
DC just immediately. But yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
going to pay for a subscription service to see it.
Yeah.
That kind of makes me sad.
So, what do you think specifically about the Gremlins one? I mean, would you want to see a series? Let's say it was on like Netflix or whatever. Would you
Well,
like
here's
to-
let me give you the description of it.
Okay.
Set in 1920 Shanghai.
Actually, I'm kind of intrigued.
Yeah,
The
Keep going.
series will tell the story of how 10-year-old Sam Wing, the future shop owner Mr. Wing in the 1984 movie, met the young Mogwai named Gizmo. Along with a teenage street thief named Elle, Sam and Gizmo take a perilous journey through the Chinese countryside, encountering and sometimes battling colorful monsters and spirits from Chinese folklore.
That sounds cool.
On their quest to return Gizmo to his family and uncover a legendary treasure, they are pursued by a power-hungry industrialist and his growing army of evil gremlins.
Huh.
This really sounds intriguing.
Yeah, that doesn't
I
sound
think
bad.
it's going to be animated. I don't remember from the story, but I'm pretty sure I read it was going to be animated.
I mean, with them touting that many like monsters of Chinese origin, that sort of thing, you almost kind of have to have it animated.
Yeah.
Unless you're speaking about just a handful of them. I feel
Or you
like.
could go the Jim Henson route.
That's what
Yeah.
I was thinking, the Jim
God, that
Henson route.
Because so many more people are going toward practical effects,
Yeah.
kind of because of that nostalgic factor, which is something I really like as a cinematic and TV trend, is people saying, instead of fix it in post, let's do this with a puppet.
Yeah.
And holy cow, recreating some physical, clever, creepy little gremlins for a TV series, that'd be kind of great.
Yeah.
For sure.
And now and you said that they're going to be like encountering monsters from Chinese mythology, all that makes me think of is Big Trouble in Little China.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
Which was a lot of practical effects and like some kind of dated looking stop motion, but for the most part, practical effects that still hold up.
I've never seen Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh,
do they run
it's
across?
so good.
Do they run across Chinese monsters?
It's
They
so
do.
good, it's bad.
They do?
It's so
Yes.
bad, it's good.
Man, that sounds pretty cool. I love in movies whenever they run across. I just love folklore in general.
Man,
Yes.
Kevin's gonna kick your ass. He loves Big Trouble in Little China.
Big
He
Trouble
doesn't
in Little
listen. He
China
won't know.
is so good.
I'm gonna tell him. I'm gonna tell on you.
Just I love your point of view character as Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
He is American over the road trucker man who has no clue what the hell's going on around him.
Yeah.
So is he like the audience surrogate
Oh yes.
for the crazy world that
yes,
you're
very
born
much
into?
so. Some people have even done
but also the protagonist.
like compilations of like that last for 15 minutes because his character's name is Jack Burton. It'll say Jack Burton has no idea what's going on, and it's just a spliced together cut of him like, what? Huh? What's going on? What'd you say? What's happening? And it's an enjoyable movie.
Yeah, it really is.
You could do a podcast after introducing Brandon to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to find it this week to watch.
Yeah, do it. Well, you can probably, like I said, you can probably ask Kevin. He has it on DVD, I'm sure.
Yeah, but then I'd have to visit Kevin.
That's fair. That's
not
fair.
not to steal an idea from another podcast, but
How dare
perhaps
you,
to
sir.
perhaps to shamelessly borrow it. There is another podcast run by some friends of mine, and they realized one of their co-hosts just had this large blank space of movies that were kind of assumed by everybody pop culturally that you would have seen by a certain age that
Right.
this person just had not seen. And so they have a side podcast now that's just them introducing this person to these movies.
So do
maybe,
they watch it and then...
yes, like their format for it thus far has been like they will show this person the theater poster or the cover of the box,
Okay.
and they will make a prediction of what they think is going to happen in the movie based on the box art or the poster.
Okay.
And then they will play the audio of a movie trailer for that movie and come back immediately after having finished the movie to just do like an immediate audio review.
Okay, that's pretty cool. What's
So-
the podcast called? You might as well plug it.
I'll have to look it up.
It's called Fuck You, Brandon, for making me look this up.
God.
The podcast.
Making me work. The name of the parent podcast that they all host is called Nerd Overload. The spin-off, as soon as the internet cooperates. What do you mean could not load results? You bastard. I see 3 bars. I see the high speed symbol.
You
Don't
can
lie
just
to me.
hook up to my Wi-Fi.
It's called No, I Haven't Seen That.
Okay.
Okay.
Should have been easy enough to remember, which is why I failed.
That's okay. We got some good outtake filler stuff, I guess.
Yay.
I mean, what? There was a seamless cut right there? All right.
The magic of editing.
So YouTube executives reportedly mulling over removing all children's content from the main site.
Huh. So taking it all off the main site and putting it on its own channel or on its own site?
That would be my first cynical assumption, would be if they're removing children's content, they would be like, here's an entirely separate website that we've secretly been working on to move all our children content to.
Yep. Google executives are reportedly discussing whether to remove all children's videos from the site and have them exist solely on the standalone YouTube Kids app, according to a new Wall Street Journal report. This is from The Verge. This is one of the last week's stories that I didn't get to.
Okay.
The move is being discussed within Google's executive unit, according to the Journal, with the idea to move every single piece of content starring children into YouTube Kids. The move would be the most aggressive change undertaken by Google to fight predatory behavior targeting children on the site. A YouTube spokesperson told The Verge the company considers, quote, lots of ideas for improving YouTube, and some remain just that, ideas, end quote. Other employees at Google and YouTube are also reportedly asking executives to consider turning off a feature that automatically plays another video after the one you're watching is finished, according to the journal. It's a direct response to numerous articles published over the last few months, including a recent investigation with the New York Times that found both innocuous and predatory videos focused around children playing automatically.
Yeah.
So this is something that we did talk about several podcasts ago, just kind of in passing, I think, if I remember right.
I've noticed that YouTube is giving me options whenever it autoplays videos to on my phone especially to choose whether it's made a good choice or not.
Yeah.
And what it's recommended for me. I don't know if that's something that my phone I'm just happening to get now and it's been going on for a while, or whether it's a new feature.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're definitely reaching some Google-sized tendrils out there to try to suction onto my supple body.
Yeah.
I really lost the plot with that one.
The reports, alongside complaints from consumer groups and privacy advocates, also promoted a federal investigation into YouTube by the Federal Trade Commission, according to the Washington Post. The investigation could result in Google receiving a fine over its inability to protect children, and may be another key reason Google execs are mulling this decision. YouTube CEO Susan, I never remember how to say her last name, Wojcicki, Wojcicki.
Huh.
Wojcicki
sounds Polish.
has acknowledged the company's.
It does. It sounds like a Polish last name.
I really tried to get past. Just the tone and the way you said it sounds Polish. Oh. Susan has acknowledged the company's missteps over the last few weeks, the journal adds, saying in an internal memo that some of those decisions were disappointing and painful. Moving every video featuring or starring children to YouTube Kids app would come with its own array of issues. Logistically, it's a nightmare. There are 500 hours of content uploaded to the platform every minute. The only way YouTube could actually pull off the seismic shift would be to drastically alter the platform's infrastructure, since content starring children is woven into the fabric of YouTube's community. It's something that YouTube and parent company Google have the means to do, but it's unclear whether executives are willing to take that leap. Children's content, what?
I just looked her up. She's Polish American.
There you go.
Fuck you.
I didn't say you were wrong. It was just the way that you said it. Children's content includes some of the most popular videos and channels on YouTube, attracting billions of viewers and top advertisers. Family vloggers are some of the fastest growing channels, unless they abuse their kids and then they finally get taken off.
Yeah.
The great creator community would also push back against the policy, a policy that opens the door to confusing questions. Take a creator like Jake Paul, who often vlogs with a 4-year-old named Titus. Would those vlogs no longer be allowed on the main site because Titus is front and center? Or are those acceptable because Paul is there? YouTube Kids is dealing its own set of problems too, which YouTube is still trying to combat. In 2015, just a few months after the app launched, a children's watchdog group discovered a series of disturbing videos that lived on the app, including graphic discussions about pornography and suicide, explicit sexual language and cartoons, and modeling unsafe behaviors like playing with lit matches. Those problems continued in 2017 when a larger investigation dug into disturbing content floating around the app, and it's seemingly still a problem today. While YouTube Kids is arguably a safer app than the main site, moving videos over to the kid-focused platform doesn't solve the issues with problematic videos already making it through. YouTube's current attempts to protect children, including disabling comment sections on videos that feature minors and disabling live streaming options for kids unless a parent or guardian is present. A complete overhaul seems unlikely, but what's clear from the journal's report is that both Google and YouTube executives are putting forth a concentrated effort to try and solve one of several paramount problems afflicting the site. So sorry. I think that this one was update June 19th, added that the Federal Trade Commission is reportedly in the late stages of an investigation into YouTube over children's videos after receiving multiple complaints from watchdog groups. I felt that it was pretty important to actually read the whole article on this one, just because, you know, Brandon has a child and we have several friends who have children, friends and family members who have children, and YouTube, like a lot of them watch YouTube.
Oh yeah.
YouTube or the YouTube Kids app or something like that. And it's one of those things that's really kind of scary because these are independent creators creating these shows primarily, or, you know, these little unboxing shows or what have you that are family friendly. And, you know, it's so easy to just click off and watch something that's not so family friendly.
Yeah, my daughter she watches a lot of YouTube. She limits herself to an hour of YouTube a day, which I think is pretty responsible of her. But she spends that hour watching mostly Steven Universe videos.
Yeah.
But she was quoting something one day that I'd recognized from My Brother and Me, which is the McElroy family, the super famous at this point McElroy family from Polygon.
Yeah, yeah.
Who do a podcast called My Brother and Me. And she referenced something from that. And that podcast is very R-rated.
Yeah.
And I was surprised. But what happens is they take clips from this podcast and animate them. And there's a huge glut of animations of them saying funny stuff.
Yeah.
So she goes from like the kid-friendly ones now suddenly to the ones where they're saying fuck and shit all the time.
Yeah.
Now she just turned 12, so a little more language is I'm okay with.
Yeah.
Because she's going to hear it anyway at school, especially the shitty school she goes to.
Yeah, yeah.
The like Mad Max school that she has to attend. So she's going to hear the language anyway, but
she's going to have to be an imperator somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to rise through the ranks of the, you know, whatever crap. I just blanked on the name of the clan in Mad Max.
That's fine. Neither one of us
outtakes.
Neither one of us know anyway, so it's all good.
I've only seen Mad Max Fury Road. I've never seen the original.
That was specifically what I was trying to think of. I want to call them War Boys, and that's technically correct, but it's not the name of their group. But I mean, yeah, if you want her to rise within the cannibalistic ranks of middle school, then yeah, she's got to get the training, the desensitization in somewhere.
Yeah. I have her every night. She punches a bucket full of gravel to toughen up her.
That's a good start.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
War Boys.
Is it the War Boys?
Or the Buzzards. War Boys.
Oh, so I was right.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, I think it was War Boys.
I'm ready for trivia night.
There you go.
So my next story, Remington.
Yes?
What do you think about revenge porn?
Okay, so we are talking about pornography.
I'm talking about you're dating a girl.
Right.
She sends you naked photos.
Yes.
You guys split up.
Yes.
You now post those naked photos online.
Right. Yes.
Without her permission.
I am not a vengeful person.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't share any pictures that I get from anybody with anybody else.
Right. It takes a special kind of shitty.
Unless you're like my BFF. Right, Brandon?
Right.
Yeah. Which is why you've seen all the pictures of my penis.
I have. Every one of them. He just sends them to me constantly, Chad. I can't even stop. I'm like, poop, another text message from Remington. Oh, great. Here's another dong. It's just it's a deluge. It's a tsunami.
It's a dong deluge.
A dong luge.
I feel like there's a GIF online that expresses this really well. Just hot dogs.
The girl getting hit in the face with like 1,000 hot dogs.
Yes.
Yeah. That GIF was made by somebody with. I want to know what that's from more than anything else because it feels commercially.
I think somebody just really put their heart into it.
One guy was like, "Okay, honey, bear with me. This is what I need you to do.
This will go down in internet history." Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the... Oh, wait. Hold on. It's from Nostalgia Chick's review of Freddy Got Fingered.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Thanks, Reddit.
That's really its point of origin?
Yep.
Wow, I thought it existed before that.
Video unavailable.
That link is unavailable. I think
I watched the Nostalgia Chick. It's actually some really good movie commentary.
I've never seen her.
She was part of Channel Awesome, which is more well known for the Nostalgia Critic, and a couple other reviewers. But she's split off and kind of done her own thing, so she doesn't release as much content anymore. But she releases it under her actual name, which is Lindsay Ellis.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so she has like a 6 or 8 part series breaking down Michael Bay's take on Transformers.
Damn.
And kind of raising some legitimate good points that came out of the movies while also bashing some of the parts that obviously sucked. But I like her content. She's fun to watch, fun to listen to.
Yeah, and you can actually find that video on her Lindsay Ellis YouTube. If you really wanted to watch the review of Freddy Got Fingered, a movie that was published or a movie that came out in 2012, I think. The original video was published May 5th, 2012.
Freddy Got Fingered?
No, the original video.
Oh, I was going to say Freddy Got Fingered came out a long time ago.
And she re-released the review 3 years ago on her Lindsay Ellis channel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So what were we talking about? Revenge porn, right?
Yes. Revenge porn.
Okay, so let's continue with the story.
So publishing revenge porn is already illegal in 41 states.
Right. Yes.
Which seems like that would be an easy pass to do all 50 states.
Yeah.
Because it takes a special kind of shitty person to take something intimate like nude photos and post them online for somebody else to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is what I keep telling you with your dong pictures, Remington.
Well, I'm not publishing
They're
them.
pictures of you, though.
Yeah,
that's true.
exactly. I mean, I'm freely giving them to you, the concerned party who doesn't want them but keeps getting them anyway.
Okay.
There's no law against sending your dick to people. It's just uncouth.
I think there probably is.
I think there should be an exposure law.
Yeah.
That would shut down all of those dating sites, that's for sure.
But anyway, Virginia is the first state to pass DeepFake into its revenge porn statutes.
Okay, what's that?
We've talked about DeepFake before. DeepFake is... Have you seen any DeepFake videos, Chad?
I have not. Is that the program that you can use like a few seconds of video or several still shots to put a simulacra of someone's face over top of another person in a video? Okay. So I know what it is, but I have not seen any of the videos made with it.
Yeah,
I've heard people talk about it.
There's one where they take Jennifer Lawrence and superimpose Steve Buscemi's face over her, and it is fucking surreal. It's crazy how realistic it looks.
Well, that sounds kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it is terrifying.
Over who?
Jennifer Lawrence.
So does Steve Buscemi just like walk into the arena in the Hunger Games and like, what's up, fellow tributes?
No, it's Jennifer Lawrence giving an acceptance speech, but with Steve Buscemi's face.
Interesting.
Expected Amy to win, so I just like...
Yeah, this is what DeepFake can do.
This was very, truly surprising for me. Yeah, I was just really surprised.
Hi, here. Sheridan Watson from BuzzFeed right here.
Hi.
So you're a huge Bravo fan.
Oh,
Who
yes.
is your favorite and least favorite housewife of all cities?
My favorite is probably Lisa Vanderpump. My least favorite, I don't want to have to say. I mean, I don't want to have to say, because who knows when you're going to run into these people. You know?
That is oddly natural looking.
I know.
Like more than it
crazy.
like more than it should be.
Situation where I'm like, all the housewives are here. Anyway.
That came straight out of Uncanny Valley.
I do want to be in that
Yeah.
situation.
So Virginia
Sam
passed
Smith? Oh,
a
sorry.
law making this a misdemeanor to do something like this to one of your exes.
Oh, really?
Yes. An updated mandate, which took effect Monday, broadens an existing law that states anyone who shares or sells explicit images or videos to, quote, coerce, harass, or intimidate is guilty of a Class 1 misdemeanor.
Huh.
And deepfake is now part of it, which is understandable because, I mean, if you can get that level of realism, you get a couple pictures of somebody you don't like, even, you're bullying somebody at school, a girl, you deepfake, put that onto a porn video and release it. I mean, it's uncanny. It's hard to argue that that's not real.
Yeah.
Like with the Steve Buscemi, Jennifer Lawrence thing, there's some tells. You can see where the neck connects to the dress, that the color wasn't right. I was noticing that, but only on my third viewing of the whole thing.
Right.
And there's some instances where you can tell just from the angle of her head that his face kind of doesn't match the same angle of her, like the direction her head is pointing.
Yeah.
It's slightly off, but it's not off by much. It's more
and you
than...
have to be the kind of person who has that real fine eye to notice that just on like a first viewing. Like, Chad, you deal with that a lot in your job where you have to see when angles or when things are a little bit off. So your eye is kind of trained for that.
I mean,
And also some people have just that natural ability to do that where something just seems like it's not level,
Yep. I actually do that. I will walk into a place and like spot walls that aren't square.
Yeah.
Like, things that are off. And
Yeah.
It's one of those things I wish I could turn off.
Dude, I walk into Ginger's mom's house all the time, and somehow their pictures manage to get askew more and more each time, and I fix them quietly, and then when I come back they're askew again. It's like there's a fucking poltergeist there.
That actually sounds like the subject of one of those podcasts I was listening to. Just really Rem is stuck in a loop. He hasn't been able to get out.
Here's the worst part. In my house, in this house that we're in right now, it's settling, so the walls are not plumb and not square. And so I will make the pictures square with the house, but then they'll right themselves, because of gravity or what have you.
Yeah.
And as little vibrations go through the earth and it settles themselves in on the nail. Yeah.
Oh, physics.
Yeah.
You harsh mistress.
Indeed. So, well, that's good. I'm glad that they are passing more laws to protect people from even, being spoofed into revenge porn.
Yeah.
I know we got a little weird off-tracky there.
I saw some arguments of people saying it was freedom of speech and you should be allowed to edit.
That is 100%
videos,
not
but
freedom of speech.
No,
Yeah,
it's not.
that's bullshit.
Yeah.
No, especially when you're using it to defame somebody like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it seems amazing just how often you will see someone trot out the freedom of speech purely as a protective means of, I want to be an asshole and I don't want people to be able to stop me from doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, do you have the freedom to do that? Sure. Does that does that protect you from everybody thinking you're a piece of shit? Absolutely not.
Like, does it give you the ability to say it? Yes. Does it protect you from the consequences of it?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, that's one of those things that those people who bring up that argument tend to forget, that there are consequences for your action.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my freedom of speech to stab you to death for making a mockery of my now girlfriend who you didn't like anymore.
I want to say shitty things and then hide behind freedom of speech if somebody complains.
Yep.
That's what it boils down to.
Yep. Respect each
And
other.
And I also feel like even with those protections being rolled out like you were reading, as I'm remembering how you read that, I can still see wiggle room for people, because you're saying it makes it a misdemeanor for somebody to use that program to put someone's face into a video for the purposes of intimidation, monetary gain, and I can't remember the third. But
To coerce, harass, or intimidate.
okay, so in those instances, I can unfortunately see a lot of wiggle room being given to someone being called on the carpet for that behavior, for their legal defense to say, like, well, they didn't gain monetarily and, never intended to intimidate them or never intended to coerce them into any other kind of behavior, just did it to do it. I see some greasy weasel wiggle room there.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
unfortunately.
I mean, that's a lawyer's job, is to be, I mean, they're beholden to the facts. That's one of the things, like, there is a lawyer who will watch lawyer-based movies and then tear apart the law from the Hollywood.
Yeah, I've seen those suggested on YouTube.
They're really good. You should watch them sometime.
Are they?
Yeah. And he is beautiful. He is a beautiful lawyer. But he's like, one of the main things, he's like, that what they're saying, right, that in this instance, there is no proof of that, or you are legally not allowed to lie to the jury or to withhold information or what have you. So the idea that, all lawyers are scheming, skeeving, conniving, do they twist things? Sure. But is the truth still there? Yes. The truth is they know it, from what their clients will tell them. But if their client tells them something after the fact, they still have to report that.
Lawyers are the professional version of that dude at a Friday Night Magic who raises his hand 10 seconds into the first round calling for a judge.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Judge, I'm going to a Magic tournament this weekend. I'm pretty excited about it, actually.
Yeah.
I'm going to the pre-release of the new M20 set.
Oh. Are you excited?
I am. I just said I was excited.
Shut up, Brandon.
Why don't you listen to me?
I didn't hear the first part of it.
I was even rubbing my
scrolling.
hands together in excitement as I said it.
I know. That's why I prompted to, because I saw that out of the corner of my eye, but I didn't hear you say you were excited. That's my fault.
He was more interested in your striking face on that video monitor.
True. And Chad's mustache and beard. So when my head's in the way, all I can see is this mustache. It's glorious.
It is a pretty glorious mustache you got going on.
I kind of wish it was more Swanson-esque.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a very fair thing to wish for.
I've toyed with the thought of shaving the beard.
Yeah.
So I've had the beard for about 5 or 6 years. I've kind of toyed around with try out the mustache, see if it looks like something awful that should have been left buried in the 70s.
The problem with the mustache I found when I've tried to use a mustache, do just a mustache, is you become the guy with the mustache. You have to be okay with being the guy with the mustache.
Yeah.
If that's all right with you, if you can let that settle on your shoulders and carry that weight, then go for it.
I don't know if I have enough Sam Elliott in me to do that.
That is a hell of a reference. I applaud you for that. Sam Elliott jokes.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. Brandon, you love conspiracies, right?
I do, but I hate planes.
Wow, that's weirdly specific to talk about. It turns out that planes are even worse for the climate than we thought.
Sons of bitches.
So
chemtrails.
Yep. So that is the conspiracy out there is chemtrails, right?
Right.
They're gassing the populace and experimenting with different chemical compounds to make us dumber or bigger or uglier or beautifuler or whatever.
I wish they'd pick a theme and stick with it.
Yeah, right.
Because all this mixing of things is just, it's really creating a hodgepodge of awful.
Yeah.
Like in the flyover states. Just
So, Brandon, tell me what you know about the whole chemtrail conspiracy thing.
I know I've seen there was a picture floating around of a plane that had like giant tanks that was supposed to be proof of chemtrails.
Yeah.
I think that it has something to do with zinc.
Yeah.
The chemtrails do, and that the government is using it to control the weather.
Right.
Some people believe that.
Yeah.
They're using it to like seed clouds to make it rain.
Yeah. So here's the funny thing. There's a little bit of truth in it from what we see in this article from newscientist.com. Only it's not zinc and it's not chemtrails, but contrails, condensation trails.
Yeah.
So condensation trails left by airplanes last only hours, but they are now so widespread that their warming effect is greater than all of the carbon dioxide emitted by airplanes that has accumulated in the atmosphere since the first flight of the Wright brothers. Let that sink in for a second.
Okay.
So the warming effect of the contrails is greater than all of the carbon dioxide emitted by airplanes since the Wright brothers.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Okay.
I didn't listen the first time.
Right. Worse still, this non-CO2 warming effect is set to triple by 2050, according to a study by Ulrich Burkhardt and Lisa Bach at the Institute of Atmospheric Physics in Germany. Altogether, flying is responsible for around 5% of global warming, the team says, so this figure will soar even higher, and no meaningful actions are being taken to prevent this.
Chad, are we just fucked climate change wise? We're just done, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, to me, when you take a story like this, and yes, that redistribution of condensation, you're basically creating clouds where there aren't any clouds right at that moment. So it's going to have an effect, and they're purporting that the effect is somewhere around 5% of a contribution to global warming. And they say that they predict air traffic travel is going to triple by 2050.
Right.
So let's say that figure keeps fairly constant. That's going to be 15% of the contribution of global warming. there are so many aspects that contribute to changing climate, specifically being affected by all the garbage, literal and figurative, that humans are just putting out there. I mean, population keeps going up, industrialization keeps happening at a ridiculous scale, and this is just one tiny aspect of the global issue of people really needing to rein back the damage that they're doing to the one place you have to live.
Yeah.
It, like, well, to go back to the construction industry, I just read something about how damaging in the long term concrete is to the environment and the planet as time goes on, because concrete is relatively cheap. It's easy to produce. It lasts a long time, but it's a tremendous amount when you think of how much people are just taking out of the planet to pour concrete foundations and highways and all this material that was underground or somehow locked in another form. It's being reprocessed, all the energy that goes into making it, what you have to do to maintain it. It has a huge impact. And this particular story was going on about like China being the major producer and user of concrete now, like with some of their huge dam construction projects in just freeing up more land, putting more of their rivers into hydroelectric processing capabilities. Just millions upon millions of tons of concrete. And that's just another aspect contributing to the kind of damage that's becoming more and more difficult to reverse.
Yeah.
And like when something comes up like this story with the contrails, it's concerning. But then you kind of think, well, how are you going to stop it? Like, are you going to stop people from flying from place to place?
Right.
No. You can't exactly take away air travel. You have to find other ways to decrease the amount of damage that you're causing. So condensation coming off of your airfoils is not really something you can lessen.
So let me go ahead and continue then. Lots of people talk about the need to stop air traffic increasing all the time, but this is not taken that seriously, says Burkhart. And the discussions that are taking place focus almost entirely on the associated CO2 emissions. Quote, that's a problem if the non-CO2 effects are larger than the CO2 ones, she says. The non-CO2 warming is the elephant in the room, says Bill Hemmings of Transport and Environment, a Belgium-based campaign group. All aircraft that burn fuels leave behind a trail of exhaust fumes and soot. At high altitudes, water vapor often condenses on the soot particles and freezes to form a cirrus cloud that can persist for seconds to hours depending on temperature and humidity. Clouds can have both a cooling and warming effect. They reflect some of the sun's rays back into space, but also block some of the heat radiated by Earth's surface. On average, both thin natural cirrus clouds and contrails have a net warming effect. Burkhart and her colleagues used a computer model of the atmosphere to estimate how much warming contrails caused in 2006, the latest year for which a detailed air traffic inventory is available, and how much they will cause by 2050 when air traffic is expected to be 4 times higher. The model accounts for not only of the change in air traffic volume, but also the location and altitude of flights along with the changing climate. The team concludes that the warming effect of contrails will rise from 50 milliwatts per square meter of Earth's surface in 2006 to 160 milliwatts per meter squared by 2050. In comparison, the warming due to CO2 from aviation will rise from 24 to 84 milliwatts per meter squared by this time.
Wow.
So 50 to 160 versus 24 to 84 in contrails versus CO2 production.
So according to those figures, the contrails are accounting for double the warming effect of the CO2.
Mm-hmm. In a scenario in which the airline industry increases fuel efficiency and reduces the number of soot particles emitted by improving fuels and engines, the warming from contrails by 2050 is limited to 140 milliwatts per meter squared, and the warming from CO2 to 60 milliwatts meter per squared. So they're taking into account, improved technologies and lessened pollution from the engines themselves, which the fuel consumption is what causes the stuff to go flying out the back that grabs onto these water particles, causing the clouds.
Right.
But reducing contrail warming won't be easy. It's much harder than CO2, says Burkhart, and we aren't doing anything effective about that either. There's absolutely no doubt that aviation CO2 needs to be addressed properly, and there is absolutely no doubt that it is not being addressed at all effectively, says Hemmings. An international scheme called Corsia is supposed to limit aviation emissions, but its plan is instead to offset emissions, an approach known to be ineffective. What's more, the airline industry is trying to use Corsia to block additional measures such as taxes on aviation fuel. And then there is the non-CO2 warming. The attitude has been that there are uncertainties, so let's sit on our hands and do nothing, says Hemming. There are indeed large uncertainties wherever clouds are involved, says Burkhart, but these go both ways. The study could be underestimating contrail warming by as much as 70%. The one bit of good news is that as contrails become more common, they reduce natural cirrus cloud formation by using up all the water available. This cuts the overall warming effect attributable to contrails by 1/5. So because airplanes are manufacturing the cirrus clouds, there are fewer cirrus clouds being made by the Earth. So it's offsetting. It's still increasing the warming effect, but it's offsetting it by 5%.
Okay.
Overall. So, I mean, there's a lot of weird math going on right there. But yeah, I just thought this was a really interesting story that lends a little bit of insight into chemtrail, the chemtrail argument. I don't think that chemtrails are a thing. I mean, anybody with any sense of intelligence knows that, as it gets colder in the atmosphere, the water particles are much more jumpy around and,
I mean, as long as you believe that the Earth is round, sure.
Yeah. Which Chad and I are both flat earthers.
That's true. Yeah. My apologies, guys. I forgot that you were morons.
Now we get to the dueling part of the name.
That's right. There's 2 against 1. I don't want to be too coy.
Yeah.
And Chad's a lot bigger than you, Brandon.
Yeah, he is.
That's why he recruited me for the team.
That's fair.
Chad, get him.
Did you have anything, Chad, that you wanted to... Did you have a story or anything?
Well, I kind of do.
Okay.
After that thing about the contrails and thinking about the effect we as a species are having on the planet, it's kind of in the same vein. It was addressing plastics, specifically plastics in relation to takeout food and single-use plastic utensils.
Sure.
At just as a convenience item.
Sure.
And how people who have been studying the impact of that on this planet will see movements like I'm sure you guys saw several months ago. There was kind of a big thing about reusable straws and places banning straws.
Yeah.
And
I've had several people who I've brought drinks to have said, no, I don't need a straw. I don't use them anymore.
And I mean, I usually don't use straws. I just kind of prefer to drink straight out of a cup. But and yes, when a movement starts up like that, you kind of think, wow, this is kind of awful. We do have a lot of these things floating around that shouldn't be out there and are just really kind of a weird little convenience item. And the people who are behind a lot of these long studied impacts by plastic see these movements like the straw one come up, and they say, well, these people mean well, but this is only a tiny fraction of a larger overall issue.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about how in France, there's been this big movement to get rid of all single-use plastics in relation to food and takeout items by 2020.
Oh, wow.
And how they've already managed to eliminate a bunch of them. Like, I think in France, styrofoam packaging is already a thing of the past.
Yeah.
And several other countries are following suit.
Styrofoam is like, I mean, the plastics are bad, but styrofoam is like the worst.
Yeah. Like there is no really good way to break down styrofoam besides burning it. And by God, if you've ever burned styrofoam, then that's not a great way to dispose of it either.
Oh no, you're releasing a ton of chemicals into the air. I mean, you can melt styrofoam with gasoline, nail polish remover, that sort of thing. But even still, you have those chemicals.
I mean, how else are you going to fuel those tiki torches?
Yeah, right.
So they were talking about some individual states and municipal places in America that are trying to follow suit. And I think Vermont is the first state that this article mentioned. I wish I could remember who released it. It might have been National Geographic, where they've outlawed, or they plan to have outlawed, straws, single-use plastic, eating utensils, and styrofoam packaging also by 2020.
Yeah.
And that this is something that has already passed the legislature phase in Vermont. And it kind of went into the history of single-use utensils and how those kind of became a big thing, who really pushed behind it, who popularized it, and how 100 years ago, that idea was completely a foreign one, not just the single-use items, but also having utensils provided to you when you went to a dining place and a restaurant to eat.
Yeah.
That you were expected to bring your own. And it was,
really?
Yes, even in this country. And I thought that was fascinating because it was an area of history I had never really learned a lot about.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So they kind of went down this little rabbit hole of talking about having your own cutlery with you that you would take in a little satchel or wrap up compartment to a restaurant, and how it was a status symbol. You had, some made out of like more precious exotic woods.
Ivory?
That was also a thing. There were some with some questionable materials that we would not condone today. But,
Right.
but that you would have some very run-of-the-mill ones, you'd have some fancy ones, and it was a societal status mark. So that was kind of an interesting story. But in the same vein of like, hey, we're doing crappy things to the planet, maybe you should stop.
I will say that is something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, being my first time serving, and I have to roll silverware and that sort of thing, and I see the other people, like when you work, you're required to at least roll 25 silverware before your shift is done. And you want to get that done as quickly as you can so you can get out of there. But at the same time, what is the cost? And yes, this has been run through a machine that is super hot. So as far as, and they're using antibacterial soaps and that sort of thing to run this stuff through. But you're still going to have food particulates that stick to some things,
Yeah.
So I see a lot of silverware that has some stuff on it that, we don't roll those up. They get sent back to be washed. But it's still a thing. And, I take mine and I wipe all of my silverware before I roll it a second time with the antibacterial stuff, the quat. Yeah. Yeah. And it ends up taking me longer than a lot of other people to roll silverware because I don't want to come into a place and eat off of something that hasn't been properly sanitized. So it's come to my attention that we have some of those stainless steel straws downstairs, and I've been thinking very seriously about bringing my own cutlery to restaurants whenever I go out to eat. Just having my own little separate satchel that I carry on me so I can eat food without using plastics or using potentially unsanitary utensils.
Well,
Yeah.
And I've been looking into some of the neat little carry cases and collapsible nesting fork, knife, and spoon sets that are increasingly available because the internet, being the glorious creation machine that it sometimes turns into, is just, hey, here's a cool thing that someone made. Wouldn't you like this?
Right, yeah.
But it also makes me think of years I have spent hanging out with and attending historical reenactments where bringing your own cutlery is very much a thing that pretty much every participant does.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've even made some sets for people.
Right.
If you have some basic blacksmithing skills, it doesn't take much effort to make a simple 2-pronged fork, a little knife, and just kind of sew up a leather pouch that you can wrap them in and stick in a pocket.
Yeah.
So, even that, you could say harkens back to that 100 years ago being a status symbol. Like, hey, I have my own cutlery. It was handmade by this guy with a beard in West Virginia. It's obviously superior to your cutlery.
Yeah, it does become a status symbol again.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I still have it. It's not a set that I made, but I have a set of stuff that I use when I go to Viking campouts. It's a bowl made out of cow horn with a horn spoon and a little mild steel eating knife. The knife I did make, but yeah, that's just kind of a common thing that I'll throw in a bag if I know I'm going to one of these campouts for a day or so.
All of that sounds awesome.
It kind of is. It's fun. It's a very tangible connection to going and spending time with these people because like even on a subconscious level that it wasn't stamped out by a machine somewhere, and it's not like you're going to a restaurant and you're expecting everything to be provided to you.
Yeah.
Like you show up to a communal kitchen tent where nobody has to overtly say it, but you kind of understand that there's a little quid pro quo. So I know that if I show up at this one particular group that does a camp out in August in Dublin, Ohio, that I know there's a couple things I'm good at in their little kitchen setup, and I'll just show up and do them because I know they need doing, and that's part of my payment for everybody getting fed, including me.
Right.
So I'll show up and I'll make butter while somebody else is making soup. And then, I just know I have my eating utensils in my little travel bag. I'm not worried about missing out because I know they'll take care of me. And it's very much an anti-restaurant experience.
Yeah.
But it's a very tangible connection to those kinds of events.
This segment of the Dueling Ogres podcast is brought to you by Kisswell Portable Utensils. Traveling camping and cutlery set. 8 pieces including knife, fork, spoon, chopstick, straw, brush, and carrying case. Reusable silverware set to go, dishwasher safe, ranging from $9.69 all the way up to $14.89. I will put a link down in the description below because actually this is kind of a cool set.
I love how he's shopping for sponsors while I'm just spewing word vomit.
That's how you market, Chad. That's how you do it. But seriously, it's a neat little case, and I am going to put it in there because, like I said, I would honestly prefer to have a set made or make my own set, or at the very least sew up my own little travel case. This comes with a neoprene travel case, which in and of itself is neoprene. It's not particularly good for the environment either. But, taking buying some leather and making my own little carry case for this would be really kind of neat.
Yeah. I've got a lot of leather in my shop, so.
Yeah. I'm going out to Chad's, guys. I'm going to make myself my own little cutlery set.
I'm going to show Remington some things with some leather in my shop.
He's going to teach me how to punch them leather holes. All right. If you have any questions or comments, or you'd like to hear yourself on air, you can call us at 978 DU-OGRES. That's 978-386-4737. You can also reach us on Twitter at Dueling Ogres. Email us at duelingogres@gmail.com or leave a comment on our Facebook page like these nice people ran and go.
Oh no, I don't have them.
Of course you don't.
Hearing yourself on air isn't as great as it sounds. Just keep your expectations low and you'll be fairly happy, I guess.
Speaking of, Chad, do you have anything that people can get a hold of you to do little projects? I mean,
yeah, geez.
Do you have your own little plug thing that you can do, or just people find you on Facebook and be like, hey?
People just kind of find me on Facebook or by word of mouth through a loosely associated network of acquaintances.
Right.
That's generally how things happen.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at marketing myself. I'm also absolute shit at documenting the stuff I make.
Yeah.
And so I'll be able to describe some cool things I've done. I have no pictures to prove that I've actually done these things. I just make a thing, it seems cool, and I find a friend that I think that item fits, and I just hand it to that friend. And then there's no proof that I ever produced that item in the first place.
Well, you finally have a smartphone now, so maybe you can get your ass in gear and start taking pictures of some of the cool shit that you're doing.
Well, maybe.
So we had one comment on our last episode. There can be only one fuck shit of the week.
Yes.
Unless there's more.
Yep.
And this was the lovable Viscount Terry W. Irvin II.
Lovable. That's where we're going with it.
Yeah,
this
he's
week?
a lovable guy.
He is.
I'd say he's lovable.
Yeah.
He said the review of Endgame was a little shorter than I hoped for, but that's okay. The length of the movie made up for it, winky face. Now, Terry, I don't want to be a bummer. I don't want to sound like a bummer, but last week's episode, we talked about Endgame for like half an hour
Yeah.
that we lost.
Yeah.
So sorry our review was short. Remington and I aren't very great movie reviewers at all.
No, we're not.
We're both just like, we liked it.
It was good. It was good. It made me cry a lot. Hey, whatever. Over
As
here.
far as the re-release to surpass Avatar makes sense PR-wise, but really it's a flawed system. They should count the number of tickets sold, not box office receipts. The price of tickets continues to escalate, sliding the scale towards newer movies as opposed to older ones. But it's a PR-based system, not meant to be a level evaluation or comparison. Which I agree.
Yep. Absolutely.
I guess I think you can make a comparison of, or a ratio of dollars spent to make said movie versus dollars said movie brought in. Because even with inflation, then you'd still have a metric for success.
That's fair. I don't want to give it too much thought, though. I have a headache.
We're here to think about deep things, Rem.
No, we're not.
Deep things.
This is Dueling Ogres. There's only one deep thing here, and that's deep bot. Deep,
Okay.
What is it
Dang
called?
it.
Deep thought?
Deep fake.
Deep fake. Yeah.
Man, I was setting up a big deep hole for you to just walk right into.
Yeah.
Sadly, you did not do it.
We've had enough of your deep holes, Chad.
Yeah, just put your pants back on. It's fine.
Fine.
Make sure to subscribe on our website at duelingogres.com for news, shows, and articles pertaining to some of your favorite geek news. Also, want to give a huge, big, massive shout out to the Diamond Man, Stephen Hines, who has launched and released the Kickstarter for that's what we do. Issue number 2 of
The Soccer Mom Killer.
I was getting there.
It's the Soccer Mom Killer, Remington. I did it first.
Killer wanted to come out of my mouth first, and I had to shut my brain down.
I did it. I won. I beat you.
Of Soccer Mom Killer.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah. Shut up. All of that bullshit's going to be in the outtakes. Fuck you, Brandon. Go over to Kickstarter.com, search out Soccer Mom Killer, and click on the number 2 one. There will also be a link down in the description below, assuming I don't drop the ball and forget it. But I will put it up there, and if somebody catches that I didn't, you message me right away and say, listen here, you miserable piece of shit, Remington Hitchcock. Put up that link so I can go click on it, because I can't be bothered to find it myself.
Do it. Please do that.
Do all of that. And finally, be sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, because that helps to boost us higher on the Cool Kids list. Or I guess you can go over to our YouTube and subscribe, where you can watch the audio, where you can watch the video version whenever we release them, or the audio version, because they both come out. You can find us on iHeartRadio. You can find us on Spotify or anywhere else you can find a podcast. And if you really want to feel special, you can hit us up on Patreon, where there is a $1, $3, and $5 patron level. And the $5 one gets you advanced access to the episodes before they're released to the general public. $3, you get a shout out. So Bucky and Chad both get a shout out, because Bucky has our $3 patron and Chad has our $5 patron. And see, sometimes you even get to be on the fucking podcast.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Basically, give us any sort of money and you can be part of this podcast too.
Probably. That's probably a thing.
Living the dream.
Chad, have you taken advantage of the early release of the podcast? I have.
Have
you? Good.
Yes, I have.
See-
I listened to your last episode as soon as it became available because I got the alert while I was banging away on a porch and kind of cursing and sweating under the sun. I'm like, oh, nerdy stuff. I'll listen to that.
Nice.
So yes, being a patron is definitely worth the perks.
Oh, that's great. Oh, in fact, I just got an email from Stephen Hines that it is 56% funded at this moment. While that's great news, if you haven't pledged it yet, I would love to have you jump on board. I'm super proud of this story and can't wait to share it with you. If you happen to be waiting on payday, there's good news. You won't be charged until the campaign is over in 3 weeks. Still not convinced? And he lists some sample pages in the email. Some incentives include a 4-button pack, a confidential police report with narrative detailing your crimes, written by me, of course, me being Stephen Hines, not me being Remington Hitchcock. A chance to have a cameo in issue number 3. I have a cameo in issue number 2.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I'm a bartender, if I remember correctly. A comic book script consult in which I help you fine-tune your story. A chance to have your lovely face on the cover of the graphic novel collection of the SMK trilogy, and original autographed art by Derek Worley. And again, the link will be in the description below for that. He will also be appearing in person at the following conventions: the River City Comic Arts Festival on 7/28 in Marietta, Ohio, Yo Ice on 9/7 in Youngstown, Ohio, Kentucky Free Thought Convention 9/21 in Louisville, Kentucky, Parkersburg PopCon in 9/28 in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and Champion City Con on October 27th in Springfield, Ohio. That was a hell of a good plug for Stephen all of a sudden.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, now if only you'd have said Louisville correctly.
What did I say?
Louisville.
Louisville? That's because
Louisville.
Louisville?
Louisville.
There you go. Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville.
It's like that's
three syllables.
Louisville.
Louisville.
No, just Louisville. Louisville.
God, it's like Cairo, West Virginia.
Yeah, right. Or when you say New Orleans,
Yeah.
it's Nolans.
Norlands.
Nolans. Do it right.
Boy, I got taken to task for saying Boise incorrectly.
Oh God.
One day.
Ha-
I did not know that was a thing.
It's not Boise?
No,
It's Boise?
It's not. It's Boise.
Oh, a hard
you
C,
have
huh?
to make a hard C out of that S.
Well, I
Because
guess
if you
a
say
hard
Boise, then somebody from there will dress you up and down.
Hopefully in the Sunday Finest.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
At least not in my case.
I like how you said unfortunately no, and then I said that's unfortunate. So until next week, ogres, keep your clubs blunt
And your tusk sharp.
and your words straight.
Good
night.
Good night.
Good. Wait, 1, 2, 3.
Good
night. They watch the History Channel, and they know more than you do.
All right. They know more than you do. God, how'd you get so stupid?
Well, I saw this thing on Vikings.
Fuck your Vikings. Check. Brandon, give me a check.
Check, check, check.
Chad?
I don't have a check to give you.
Meh, meh.
I mean, if I write my banking information on a rock, I think they'll still take it as long as it's got the routing number and account number.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, yeah, that's a thing.
On a rock?
It has historically been done at least once. There is a record of a bank accepting that. But technically, as long as you have your routing number and your account number, that's all a bank needs to make a transfer.
How about that? That's very interesting. God, he's such a good actor.
He's not a Mandarin Oriental.
No, he's not. He's a fan of Mandarin Oriental because it's a fan because that's their logo.
I didn't think we could say Oriental anymore.
I mean, not when you're just straight up talking about.
See, and then you wonder why I call him racist on the podcast. He's always spewing this shit from beginning of the day to the end of the day.
Yeah, it's just never on recording. That's the difference, Brandon. That's the difference. You can be a racist in the privacy of your own home. Oh shit, is this thing on?
Are you drinking body water?
No, I'm drinking water.
No.
It's called Body Armor.
Super drink.
And get a sponsor from these guys because this shows up great on camera. Body water. Water for your body. Oh, body armor. Armor for your body. Speaking of armor, let me see your chits. Because the first time that I saw them, you hadn't done anything to them.
Yeah, they were just bare steel.
Yeah, so you got what? Linseed oil, you said?
Yep.
All three
Bare
of them?
steel.
Or
Yes.
and that gave them that dark color?
Yeah, the edgelord black.
I
I just need to make an armored fedora to go with it.
didn't know linseed oil was that dark.
It's not. It,
Oh, really?
It kind of looks golden amber in color.
Uh-huh.
You do have to be careful when you use it because any rags, like it works really well as a sealant on wood and metals, but with the rags, it oxidizes really quickly.
Yeah.
So the rags can actually spontaneously combust if you just leave them in sunlight.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to start fires.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Like you don't want a hole in your shop shining down onto linseed oil rags. Yeah.
No. And even if you don't have direct sunlight, like linseed oil specifies in a shop situation that you store it, like once you're done with the rag, you don't throw it away. You put it in its own can that is steel, that seals shut when the lid is closed, and you have water in that can.
Yeah.
Damn.
So you can burn down a shop just by wiping something off that has too much linseed oil on it, like a piece of furniture, and then just toss that rag on a shop counter and walk away. You could burn down everything.
Yep. Some shit you don't want to fuck with.
Yeah, when you bake it onto metal, like it's one of the finishes we know was used historically by a lot of different cultures and civilizations, was linseed or something similar to it, just rendered from plants. There's other finishes, and people have always been fans of color. It's kind of interesting if you look into the history of armor, how often you'll find pieces that were painted to protect them from rust. Because who wants to be spending all their time, or hiring a person to spend all their time scrubbing it to keep it clean and shiny, paint it?
Yeah.
So there's like examples of German and Italian armor suits that have all these designs just hand painted onto them. It was just to protect it and keep it from rusting, but also, amazingly enough, knights and men-at-arms were colorful.
Yeah.
Hollywood has failed us again.
I mean, chrome looks good on camera, though.
Yeah, kind of.
All right, we ready to do this thing?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Start up, you piece of shit.
Sorry, everybody. I go to dark places sometimes.
No wonder the recording stopped. You open like 30,000 fucking things on your computer.
That's not why the recording stopped.
I think I would know a little bit more about it than you would.
Oh, yeah? Tell me more, Brandon.
I don't like it when you guys fight. Yay, the power of editing.
Yep. This is why it's nice to not do these live sometimes.
All of the trending podcasts are just crazy. Amy Schumer presents 3 Girls, 1 Keith. The Joe Rogan Experience.
You let me know if you want my Wi-Fi password, Chad.
It's Oriental 7.
It's not.
It's probably something much dirtier.
Yeah, it is. Man, I'm hungry.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, Hungry. I'm Remington.
Fuck you.
Oh.
Are these the gems that we don't get to listen to all the time?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, no, that'll probably go on the outtakes.
I feel like I do a pretty good fuck you. That's why I need to live in New York.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
There you go.
It's pretty good, right?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Somebody cuts me off. Fuck you.
It sounds a little lackadaisical.
Fuck you.
It's like you just don't care about life anymore, but you still feel obligated to say it to somebody.
That pretty much sums me up.
Yeah, it does.
Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Snore.
I mean, me 10 years ago would probably be shocked at the language of me today,
Oh yeah.
but I do tend to curse more at inanimate objects than I do other people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, because you don't like confrontation.
Yeah, I tend to avoid it.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I don't like confrontation with actual people.
I have found out that I'm good at it, though, which is kind of scary.
Yeah.
Good
And
at
also-
confrontation.
Yes. That's kind of a skill that you learn whether you have it or you don't if you're in the construction industry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's not like we're all getting in fights at the drop of a hat, but you do have to contend with people who just have really stupid ego issues
Yeah.
and are convinced that because they've done something X number of years, that their opinion is the last and only opinion, when, yeah, you could have done concrete work for 25 years. You could have done it wrong for 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I worked with a moron who specifically did concrete work for 25 years and believed that his opinion was the only one that mattered when it came to that. And he charged somebody $1,200 to build steps in front of their house, and none of the steps were the same size as the other steps leading up to the front door. And none of the steps were deep enough for me to get my whole foot on.
Wow.
So you were only on the balls of your feet going up the steps. And the top step was so short that the top of my shoe was equal with the level of the porch when I put my foot on it. And I could only put the first 4 inches of my foot on that step.
Wow.
But yeah, he's been doing it for 25 years.
Right.
So I can't question him because I'm just a young whippersnapper. And you kind of have to learn to hold your ground and pick your fights and not back down from them when you're telling somebody, hey, you're a moron, you're doing something wrong. You either need to step back and let someone else do it, or you need to correct what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I've
it's
noticed
also an aspect I do not like about the job.
I've
it's like
noticed that in serving too.
Yes.
Where I've run into servers who are like, I've been doing this for a year and a half, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, and this is the way you do it, and blah blah blah. And it's like, no, you are creating a health violation every time you do this.
Career servers are some of the bitchiest people you can deal with.
Yeah,
They're awesome, but they are stuck in their ways for sure.
yeah, 100%.
Okay, I finally found the name of that other podcast.
Okay,
Way to go, me. Investigative powers activate.
I forgot how to word.
Episodes?
Another perfect show.
It's flawless in its.
Severe alert. Flash flood warning this area till 9:30 p.m.
Yep.
Avoid flood areas. Whee!
Yay, death by water.